You've got to believe that you can add real value to your industry, to what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. You shouldn't look at failure as a or setbacks as an issue. You should see it as a learning methods continually for everything else that you're doing. You see, what happens is our failures ask us to ask the question, why can't it be like this? You know, is there a way to better it so that those who are failing can actually do well from this? It's extremely easy to not see the world as a place of learning, as a place of discovery. So I think what I'm saying today is, you know, everything that seems to be happening around you, always ask yourself, is this a failure? Is this something that I'm failing at, or am I succeeding at? I know it sounds unusual because sometimes you can be succeeding, but you're actually failing. And what I mean by that is, I remember some years ago that I was doing very, very well at a particular discipline at university. And it seemed to be going kind of well. And I thought, by all, you know, intents and purposes, I am doing well. I'm going to pass this credit. And when I did pass the credit, I thought, there's nothing bad about this. This is a good thing. You know, I should celebrate. And then I realized that all I was doing was just reestablishing the status quo. I was just reestablishing what was already accepted in the marketplace. I wasn't thinking of something unique or some way that I could add value to that industry. I was definitely just towing the line. And I realized I wasn't going to add any value to that industry if I kept on that same path. The main thing there was obviously to find ways, better ways, much more interesting ways of being able to add value at a different level. And then years later, I started to realize as well that, you know, being a failure in something is not necessarily a bad thing. I'll just give you an example of this. I was particularly bad at this one thing that I did, which is playing basketball. I'm not good at basketball for some obscure reason. Maybe it's because of my martial arts training or whatever it is. When it comes to basketball, I am just not that good at it. I foul all the time. I can't seem to not touch other players. You know, for me, coming up in a contact sport is definitely an issue, right? I mean, for me, growing up with a contact sport, that's what it's about, is contact. You're always in contact with the other player. And what I was experiencing was exactly that. I was in contact with the player. And then I thought, well, I'm so bad at basketball. Why don't I reinvent the game? I know. People are like, what? How dare you? It's our sacred cow, basketball. You cannot change. And I thought, but there are ways of improving basketball. There are ways to improve the game. Who am I to say that? You know, I'm just somebody who hasn't even played basketball, never mind professionally, but even amateurishly, I have not played basketball. The few times that I have played basketball in some way or another has been disastrous. I have proved to myself again and again that basketball is not for me. So you start to realize that basketball is not your game, but it does teach you ways of improving the game. And I suddenly thought, you know, basketball is such a great game because there's movement and then they stop and they do something, right? They do their three-pointers or their two-pointers. You see, I'm not even good at describing basketball, but the point is this, is that you have this stop-start effect in basketball. And I keep thinking, is there a way that they can just keep the game really exciting and somehow those little isolated things that they're supposed to be doing on the side, can they not bring that into the game? In other words, they need to run doing it. You know, there needs to be some kind of movement so the movement stays. Basketball tends to be an unusual game in that they suddenly have to stop, and it's kind of silly. I mean, to me, you know, it's, as I said, I love movement and I love action. If I could, I'd probably be making high action adventure films all of the time. In fact, even the projects that we work on, whether they be movies or music or whatever, they're all high action pieces. You know, I love action, I love movement. In another lifetime, I probably would have been an action superstar, an action movie star, I wish, right? But I'd love that to have happened. I mean, I really enjoy action. I enjoy action movies, and when I'm in action films, or when I cast myself in an action film, or I get cast into a movie, I realize how cool it actually is to be in momentum all the time, moving all the time, doing things, right, is vital. And so, as a final piece to this little recording, I'd like you for a second to just think of yourself as developing extraordinary projects, right? Go out, make things happen. Don't think of failure as failure. Really, think of it as a way to learn and as a way of making the world a better place based upon that failure, right? Failures can become extraordinary successes. So keep at those and let me know how it went.